what I want to say is that it's like we all are impacted by this, but then we're being asked to be, we have to start becoming more aware of all of our systems, right? Because none of them actually work. And we have to be, give ourselves some forgiveness and care for that too. Because what we're being asked to do is be aware of a lot of things, and it's a lot. Like, I get overwhelmed by just the amount, right? So when I was working with Speak Up, which was a lot of young people, I was working with young people from the Humboldt Park and Englewood communities mostly. And I became a mentor figure. And I mean, we took kids on camping trips, took them to Mexico City for a meditation retreat. We just did all kinds of stuff with these young people. And at some point, I think I just realized, like, this, I got very frustrated because one young person would get entangled with the system, with like some system, different systems, and then to unentangle them took so much effort unnecessarily, right? And I was seeing how they were so impacted by this larger thing, right? This larger phenomena. And I was so overwhelmed after a while. And I realized, like, how can I be expected to change the system, be there for the young people, and work on my personal self? Like, and we have to look at all those three levels, but like, that felt very overwhelming to me. And I started realizing, like, how much of this overwhelm that I'm feeling is really my fault. Like, is it enough that I'm going to do a bunch of personal practice? And that's going to take that stress away, this anxiety that I feel all the time. And I was like, no, because I'm being impacted by so much. I'm being impacted by the whole thing. And so I don't know what the answer to that is, right? I think that we need to be aware on all those levels, but can I go directly head to head and say, I'm going to take on the healthcare system? No, we're all going to have to find our place in the movement, right? I say this is a larger movement, and we're all going to find our place in it. And some of us are going to be more involved in the personal and helping people in this personal way. And then some of us are going to be involved in more of a cultural way. And some of us are going to be involved very hardcore into changing and working inside of systems, and already are involved in these ways. And so, but then I think what it is just having a level of awareness of these three, right? And trying to be informed, but not necessarily having to be engaged all the time.
I mean, what I come back to is just that we need each other. Like, I won't be able to do that on my own. I won't be able to take care of there are some people out there that can. I think they're kind of a rare breed, but there are these, like, really that. But I think that also is about balance, being able to, like, I'm going to take care of myself now. I'm going to decide not to go to that thing. I'm going to decide to, go to this event and, like, work on these issues. But ultimately, like, we have to do it together. It's a collective effort. And this idea and this vision of collective care actually has to be, like, embodied in this moment. It will not come to be, I don't believe, unless it's happening. So when you can't go to the courthouse, maybe I can go to the courthouse. When I need to take a week, and I feel like we've ended another one of our talks with this, but I think that, like, people have a really hard time saying, like, what it is that they need, and what our capacities are, and then also being afraid to take on too much and being like, that means I'm going to have to, like, my activism is going to have to look like A, B, and C. And they have this whole image of, like, what it means to be engaged on those three levels. And I just think it's like tapping into what it is personally that is going, what are your movements? Like, what's the texture of the way that you're in interaction interpersonally? and how does that inspire like how you're going to engage politically. So like don't let anybody tell you what that looks like. Really allow it to evolve so that you can have the sustainable energy to maintain it, because it's in alignment with like you and your purpose and your community and how you want to see the world. um you know that I'm like that also includes the planet and the interconnectedness of the planet, and um like just coming back to this like cultural element. In order to do that, like how can we continue to work on our relationships with each other so that we can kind of like be in rotation with what we have capacity for, because like we can't do everything all the time, but we can be aware of like what needs care, like when you have momentum to do this, when you need to retreat, and kind of comes full circle to me. That's in alignment with the way that nature works. Like when are you in hibernation? When is it your summertime? When are you out there like doing all the things? When is it your fall? Are you in a fall moment right now where you're like allowing yourself to shed and release? And what does that go? What does that look like? And what do you need around you in order to be like to have that true season? So if we can all like respect our personal cycles, I think it will probably become really, really clear, like when to step in, when to step out, like how much and what kind of energy you want to give to what. And hopefully that like creates a movement that really supports everybody, in a more holistic way, instead of like a 5 people like perspective in a perspective, like prospectively, this small amount of people doing a lot of like grassroots activism work and just continuously getting burnt out because there's not enough mass support. Like we need to support these movements.
Yeah, and rest being part of that too, because I think sometimes like you hear the word movement and sometimes I literally think about moving. And I think like rest is important because I think that that's a movement in itself, right? Because the larger is wanting to burn us all out. That's the goal, right? Like that this whole system that we have now is about burnout. It's making us so exhausted. Like even my partner with the healthcare system, right? It makes you so exhausted. You go through all these steps and that you just give up because it's just too exhausting. And so the whole thing is designed to exhaust us so that we can't be like, when I say we need to become aware, what keeps us from awareness is we're too tired, right? It's exhausting. There's so much coming at us. It's so much overwhelm. It's like, but that's how it's designed. It's designed to exhaust us. And so we can't let exhaustion kind of take us out either. So it's like this balance too. It's like moving with the seasons, but it's like there's seasons in a day. It's like finding your, like, what does your day look like? Like start there. Like, what do you do in the morning? I've started saying, okay, my morning, my middle, and my end, like what did they look like? What does my daily cycle look like? And, so I'm like, now I'm thinking of it as like I wake up in the morning and maybe there's some practice and some exercise and some breakfast and whatever, like my morning rituals. And then, 10 o'clock, Sojourner and I start work. And there's just like a middle part of our day that is more work related. And it's actually where like the movement happens and the like most of our like energy is there. And then I start to shift in the evening into this more like starting to like wind down and let go. And now it's time to actually say stop to my work. And I'm going to let go and I'm going to transition and I'm going to find some way of transitioning into more of a quiet activity at night, whatever that might be or look like for me. And then it's like sleep. Okay. And like, this is the time I sleep. So I've been looking at that as a cycle too. I was like, we start there, even if we can't figure out the rest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, that also looks completely different for everybody. It could, depending on what your body needs, like settling into your natural cycle, which, I mean, this is kind of weaving everything into like the cycle of like what's dying in today, what am I letting go of today, what am I birthing today, like how am I, what's this moment of like life and giving energy, I think about little moments like you may need three naps a day. There's so many ways to do it. There's intermittent working, like working for 15 minutes, resting for 5, working for 15 minutes, resting for 5. So those rituals are like a way to empower us to claim our sovereignty in our lives, because what are the rituals of all of these systems, or the system that we're in right now, that we are so used to being like, if you think about ritual as repetition, something that you return to over and over, our ritual, like, it's like burnout is a ritual. It's something that we're used to returning to. It's just like, okay, this ritual of burnout after this ritual of working for a year nonstop. Or some people, have burnout after constantly doing a 9 to 5 for years and years. The ritual of when you are in an emotional place, or instead of like being with yourself and creating that space of inquiry and self-love and tenderness, you create a ritual of like, I'm gonna go shop. I noticed that the other day. I was like, I really feel like shopping. um was emotional, but what about the like, and that being this ritual that the system has given us to deal with ourselves, but just reclaiming our sovereignty in and returning to rituals that actually do reflect cultures of care.
Yeah. Oh, it's tough to be a human right now. Well,
And it's exciting because there is so much change right now. Like, it's terrifying and exciting. It makes me think of Eros in class the other day, and just that like the amount of sorrow and grieving, and that we may feel and fear, but like that we may feel like we have to go there. We have to go there. Like, that has to be a part of the ritual of our new culture, because that does give us the flavor and the textures that we need, and the amount in the kind of joy that we are going to have in order to sustain this movement, which is not going to be, it's not going to happen in a few years. It may not happen in our lifetimes, but we need to like be, yeah, project, y'all. We
yeah,
need
I
to.
mean, there's not an end, like, perhaps right now to this. Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you.